the median sale, and the median is one of the statistics we use, and it just means the middle ground. If you ordered from the highest selling price to the lowest selling price, what was the middle range? And that middle range is $1 million. And then the old assessment was around $800,000. So, and our median ratio is about 85%. So we're looking at, in that group, there's going to be some increases in values over the old assessments because they're consistently coming in below the selling prices. Yeah.
I'm sorry to say that.
No, it's okay.
Let's just take number one.
Yeah.
The old value was 1.93 million.
Yeah.
And the ratio you list is 0.88. That means it's sold for 0.88 of 1.93 million?
Yeah,
No, it's the opposite. The old assessment is 88% of the selling price.
Oh, 88%.
Yeah, so you can look at that as a percentage there. So, in other words, it sold for 2.2 million. Its old value was 1.938. The ratio is, its old assessment is only 88% of the actual selling price.
So what's the assessment? Is it going to be what it's sold for?
It'll be in that range,
Between old and new?
yes.
Okay.
I mean, we didn't put any new values yet
Okay.
because we're going to send them to the owners first before anybody else sees it. But, but the idea we wanted to get across is that the water influence properties are going to see some increases, whereas other properties will not. If we go to the second group, if you turn to the next page and look at the bottom, you'll see a summary there. And the median selling price for a property not influenced by water was $445,000. And its ratio between old value and new value is 99% as a median, as the middle ground of all those ratios. But when you look through that group, you're going to see some that are below and some that are above. We figure that probably somewhere between 65 and 75% of the assessments actually will go down.
Could you run that past us again?
Yeah, between 65 and 75% of the assessments will actually go down in town. And you're going to probably have about 20 to 25% will see an increase. Not major increases, but there are going to be some increases. And they're going to be towards the water.
I have a question about the definition of the word median.
Yeah.
It was my understanding that the median price point is the point where 50% of all the sales would be over that number and 50% of all sales would be below that number.
That's correct.
I'm just inquiring because I didn't think there were that many houses available in Jamestown that were less than 445,000.
Well, I've broken these into two groups. So this median is just for the properties that aren't influenced by water.
Okay, I should have had more coffee before I
It's okay. It's, you know, it's 7:30 at night, so take your time. So in other words, this is just two separate groups.
Yeah.
Because we wanted to show, this was the biggest difference we saw in the changes in assessments here. So we wanted to kind of illustrate what we were seeing. And of course, there's a couple of things in here. You can see this one here, you know, where I put new house in there. Obviously, that old assessment doesn't tell us too much because that was just the old land value, and the 400,000 represents a new house. But even if you look under the, go back to the water influence sales, you have two land sales in there. One of them's on Seaside Drive, and it sold for $885, and its old value was $614. And then you had another kind of larger lot on Marine Ave, which was not waterfront, but it had a water view, and that one, the old assessment was pretty low on it too. Land is going to be another issue that you're going to see. We've spent a lot of time working with Ken and with the building department to try and identify which lots had a potential for building and which ones really don't. Because there's a real mixed bag of that in this town. And there was a lot of inconsistency, or if not inconsistency, there was a lot of changes in land values that really weren't documented in the old system, so we kind of had to start from scratch. So there will be a lot of issues with land, and so if you have a vacant lot and we're telling you that we think it has some building potential and you have some evidence that shows it's not, that's the type of thing you want to bring to us, particularly with vacant land.
But under this model, waterfront property will be increasing in assessment. Most of the properties, you said yourself, 65 to 75%, their value will go down.
Right.
To meet the town budget, that means the mill rate has to go up.
To a certain extent, yes.
It has to
Depending
go
on
up.
what the budget is, right.
Depending upon what the budget is, the mill rate has to go up. So people who are either water influenced will get doubly hit because they'll have a higher value plus an increased mill rate, while those that go down in value may come out with the same tax because of the increase in the mill rate,
Right.
but the value will have.
Yeah, it'll actually come somewhere in between. In other words, depending upon what the total value of the town has decreased, that will determine what the mill rate is. And then depending on where you fall around that, so let's say the average decrease is 5%. I don't know what it is, but let's say it ends up there. If you went down more than 5%, you'd get a tax break. If you went down just 5%, you'd stay about the same. If you went up, then you'd get a tax increase. And that's what happens in all revaluations.
But what I'm saying, my analysis of what I just said is
Yeah.
correct.
Yes, that's right. In every revaluation, there's always a
schmuck.
reanalysis of whose value. The goal of an assessment is to determine what the market value of the property is for tax purposes. So if you get two properties and one's worth X and one is worth X minus 20, then that's what they need to be.
So when you say market value, it means what they would sell it for. Because the reason I'm asking this is I'm a broker.
Yeah.
And people are gonna call me up and say, okay, my assessment says 600,000.
Right.
Does that mean my house should sell for 600,000? And I'd say, basically,
Yes, right.
that's your goal was.
That's our opinion.
Okay.
What we give them is our
Market
opinion of
value.
what we think their house is worth.
Okay.
And it's funny, you know, there have been a lot of decreases in the towns that we've done. And some of the first people who came to complain this time around are saying, you dropped my value too much. Raise it up. Why? Because they're trying to.
Right, it depends on what they're, if they're staying, they're happy if it goes down, if they're
Right.
selling, they're pissed off.
That's right. So, I mean, it's human nature, but in any reassessment, it's virtually impossible for all properties to increase and decrease the exact same rate. So what a revaluation does is reassign those percentages as part of the process. All right, let's talk about what you do once you get your assessment.
Hello, Ken.
Well, actually, it's going to be hello vision first.
Vision is, that's why I want to make sure.
Smart man, Ken, smart man.
That's the plug, right? 101.
We're going to be sending you a letter, Ken said right at the end of the month. In it will be a toll-free number to call to set up a hearing with Vision if you wanted to discuss and/or appeal your value. Hearings will be held right here in Town Hall. You have about 2 weeks to make up your mind to make the phone call and set up an appointment with us. All the data will be online, so you can not only look at your data, you can look at everybody else's assessment too. And I'll talk about why that's important for you. Once you get your number, you're going to determine, well, gee, do I think this is right or not? And you might not know whether it's right or not. There's really three basic reasons to appeal your value. And none of them say my taxes are too high, because we don't do anything with taxes. All we can do is talk about the value of the real estate. As Ken said before, we don't appraise people, we don't appraise tax bills, we appraise real estate only. So if you get your notice, the first thing I would say is either go online and look at your property. Check the data on it to make sure it's correct. We didn't do an interior